Greetings YouTube and welcome. I'm doing an unboxing video of an Invicta watch that I bought for my wife. I believe this one was a Pro Diver. I don't exactly remember, but it's basically this style of a dive watch. So with that being said, we're going to get into it. And I'm going to bring it up. This one still has all the packaging on it. Has the trademark Invicta yellow box. Comes with a cleaning cloth. And then a welcome letter. I believe this Invicta watch, I got a warranty on it. I think I got like a three-year extended warranty. But I like this watch. As I said, As I said, I bought it for my wife. And let's get a little closer to it. Now, I actually like this style watch better. I waited too long and they went off sale for the men's watch. But the reason why I like this one a little better than the other one is it doesn't have all of the useless Invicta badging on it. And it doesn't have like on here. It does have Invicta on the side, but that's not really an issue. But it doesn't have like on here, it doesn't have that little weird winged aquila on the top. I'll show you like an example. I'll get my Pro Diver that I got on. So you can see it's got that weird wing thing on here. But I don't mind it. I mean, it looks okay. Versus this one doesn't have that at all. So that makes it look a little more desirable, in my opinion. But it's still nothing against this watch. It's still a nice watch for the price, because buying them on sale, I only spent $59 for the watch. For that price range, you cannot beat it. But this watch here is pretty nice looking. It's stainless steel. I believe it has NH35A movement. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It also has, of course, since it's NH35, it has the date. Well, actually not the date. It actually has the day. Not the date on this particular one. They do make some that have the date, but this one doesn't. Of course, it has the bezel. Has the no tachometer on this one, but it does have the unidirectional bezel, which seems to be pretty good. It's not wonky. Of course, you have the Invicta Flame Crystal, Mineral Crystal Hybrid, which is what it's supposed to be. It also has the clear back showing the NH35 movement. As you can see, I don't know if you can see it moving around in there a little bit, but it is. I haven't wound this one up yet, so it's still some things I need to do to it. But yeah, it's moving. I see it's moving now. But yeah, it's a nice looking watch. And like I said, for $59, you can't beat it. Some people call these homage watches to Rolex. I don't agree with that. I think they're supposed to be more like a Seiko watch. This is the thing, I'll say this briefly about this. People calling these like Rolex clones, I don't know what they're talking about. They don't look like a Rolex clone to me. They look more like a Seiko. And if you go on the Seiko's website, they make watches that look almost identical to the ones that Invicta makes. And because it's a Seiko movement, it's safer to say these watches are just more closer to a Seiko than they ever would be to like being a copy of a Rolex. But for whatever reason, people say they call them homage watches. But if you look at the Rolex site and look at a Rolex Submariner, and you look at the Invicta, the watches to me look completely different. There are, yes, similarities, yes, sure, but they're not anything you would confuse this watch with a Rolex. Looking at the Seiko, it looks more like a Seiko. And if you look at the Invicta pricing, one thing that people complain about is about these watches usually say that there should be $600. That's usually the price range on it. That lines up almost perfectly with the Seiko, because if you look at the watch that Seiko makes, that's most closely to this one. And this one here, it's about $600. There are some Seikos you can get that are around $300 that are like the automatic watches, but still the price range, I'm thinking that these watches are supposed to be more closer to the Seiko. And another thing too, you see people comparing these with a Rolex. That to me is not really a fair comparison for this particular watch, because it's only like $100 for most of the time when people buy them, unless you buy them on sale. So these watches to me would be a better comparison, would be, let me think, a better comparison for these watches would be Seiko, Casio, Timex, because they all make similar watches, and they call them like Rolex. I'm doing like a quote here, air quotes. They call them a Rolex homage type watch. I would call them a dive watch, because all it is that these watches are closer to the original dive watch that the government put out a contract for the military. When they purchase watches for divers, the dive style watch looks similar to these. So even if you go back and look at some of the first watches that were made for divers, they look just like this. So I mean, it's a lot of things. If you look at a Rolex next to this, then you can tell the difference. So that's why I say these watches, I think, are supposed to be like dive watches, and they're more closer to the to a Seiko. The only watch I would think might be a homage watch would be the 1953, which I have one, and I'll probably go get it so I can show them side by side comparison. Get this 1953. This one probably is more closer to what a Rolex would have looked like. It doesn't have the Invicta badging all over it like these two particular watches, but even what these two have here, the badging isn't overpowering. I mean, you just have Invicta right here, which is fine. Don't have any issue with that. But this watch is not a bad watch. I mean, for what you're gonna get, the closest automatic watch that you're going to find is going to be your Seiko, which is going to run you about $200 to $300 on the low end, and depending on which one you get, $600. If you want the one that's powered, the solar powered one, that's about like $600 to $700. And then, like I said, you have the Timex, makes similar looking watch. Hell, even Omega makes a similar looking watch. And I believe Omega made the first dive watch. So I don't know why people hate so much on Invicta watches when it comes to these. I'm not talking about the big, bulky, funny looking ones with all the different crazy colors. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm only talking about like these style because everybody makes these. I'm gonna show some examples of it, but Omega makes a watch that looks almost identical to this. Omega has a watch that looks almost identical to these two and this one. So if Omega makes one, Timex makes one, Seiko makes one, then I don't understand what's the issue with Invicta when a lot of this stuff on these particular watches, Invicta had the patents. It's kind of hard to track this stuff down because the Invicta watches were made, the original ones, I believe they were the Royal Marines. Well, the Royal Marines were made around the 1940s or 50s when they first started manufacturing them, or had the blueprints that they patented for that particular watch. So it's kind of hard to track down information exactly which ones were first, but these Swiss watches seem to all linger around the same time, so that's fine. And that's really the reason why I don't really have an issue with wearing these type of watches. I think they're a nice watch for $59. Like I said, it's an automatic watch. The lumen is pretty decent. Let's see if I can get it where you can see it. I can't because I have my light on, so I'm not gonna be able to show the lumen. But this is a pretty decent one. If you don't want, on this little second hand, if you don't want the one that has that weird looking, let's see, the little weird looking second hand on it, then this is the one for you. Of course, this is NH35A. It has 3 positions in it, and when you pull it all the way out, it's a mode where you can set the date, and it's kind of hard sometimes to find the right setting when you're pulling it, because you want to be gentle. It's your natural instinct. You don't want to pull it too hard because you're afraid that you'll break it. But if you do it right in the right position, you can just easily thumb through the dates pretty quickly. But if you can't find that mode, then you got to sit there and just like manually wind it. And of course, this has 2 positions a day, where that if you're setting a date, it has to do like 2 full revolutions before you can go on to the next date. But all in all, they're nice looking watches. I mean, for what you're gonna get, like I say, your closest competition for these watches are going to be like your lower end industrial watch, except for the Omega. As I said before, Omega does make this style watch, but that one will set you back $5,000 to $7,000. Timex does make one. Seiko's going to be your closest bet. It's one other thing too that you notice about this particular watch, that it doesn't have, well, not that it doesn't have, you notice something that this watch doesn't have that some of the other Submariners do have, is the Cyclops. Because this one does not have the little Cyclops. But it's not really a big deal. If you really want a Cyclops on your watch, you could get a watchmaker to swap out your crystal. Here's something else. I don't agree with people who say these things aren't worth being serviced. Of course they are. You don't have to buy any batteries. That's a huge saving, because The watchmaker that does the work on all of my watches, he charged like $15 a battery, and that's kind of like on the lower end of the batteries. The batteries are expensive. That's one reason why I kind of hate quartz watches. There are quartz that I do have and own, but I prefer automatic. And really, if you're trying to find an automatic watch for $59, you can't beat Invicta. I understand that there's some hate for it, but if you just want to collect watches that you want to wear that are automatic, Invicta is an excellent brand. Now, Invicta is not the type of watch that you collect for investing. That's not what this watch is for. This watch is for you to wear as a watch that you like to wear somewhere and enjoy. Because my other issue is, if you buy the more higher end watches, they're money. They're not really a watch. You can't really enjoy them because you're going to be subconsciously thinking about, oh, what would happen if I damage my watch, because it's money. It's just like walking around. If you have like one of the Omega watches, it's just like you walking around with, I want to say you got $7,000 to $15,000 on your wrist. If you have that, you know you're gonna be subconscious about it. This is why I say you get you one of these, you don't have to worry about it. This is the type of watch you wear every day. You don't have to worry about it losing it, stolen, damaged. You don't have to worry about being robbed or anything, no issue. If you actually use these watches to dive with, then if it gets messed up, it's no big deal. You just junk it, send it, or else if you got the warranty, you send it back to the manufacturer to repair it and send you another one. One thing about this, I don't know. Let me see how many, if I can zoom in on here. Normally these watches say they are good for 100 to 200 meters. And I'm not sure that this one is the case. So let me see here. And you know what? I cannot see. I'm gonna have to put it through the light here and the magnifying glass. Looks like that says 200 meters. But I'm gonna set it for my wife. I also bought another Invicta. I bought another one for her, so this is the second one. The first one I got her was like a rose gold color. It's a rose gold color, and this is the second one, which is the silver. Which I like the silver. You don't have to worry about these ones turning a different color because they're solid stainless steel, or at least not solid stainless steel. Some of them pieces I think are hollow, but at least they're they're not plated stainless. So in review, if you get one of these, you'll be happy with it. If you're just buying a watch and you understand what you're actually getting as a Seiko, and you compare it to a Seiko, not to a Rolex. As long as you understand that you are basically buying a Seiko watch, I think you'll be happy with them. So that's just something you have to remember. That's what you're getting. But with that being said, this is the end of the review for my Invicta Pro Diver watch. This one's for a female, as I said before, because I got it from my wife. And I think they make decent gifts. I mean, they look nice. And if you want to get one, try it, see what you think. Leave comments below, tell me what you think about it. I'm not just saying like I'm an Invicta fanboy or anything. I just don't like the unwarranted hatred, I think, of some of the watches, at least on the lower end ones, of these automatic ones. The big bulky watches, yeah, I understand all that. So I'm not disagreeing with anybody about the biggie bulky watches. I'm just talking about these type. So with that being said, I want to cut off the video right here. Stay tuned for another video on another watch. And appreciate it for looking at my videos, and thank you for watching.